All right, I got Dr. Elliot Justin on the show today. He is the founder of FirmTech and the Tech Ring, the world's first monitor of sexual health. Dr. Elliot, welcome to the show, brother.
It's great to be here.
Man, I'm excited to talk to you about all things sex tech, wearables, and really just your creation. And it's like when I looked at this device, I'm like, okay, wait, I don't get it. This is like a cock ring, but like slash Oura ring for guys and their health. Really, like guys are measuring that. The Oura ring, for those that don't know, it's a ring that you put on your finger and it measures your sleep quality, your HRV, your REM sleep, your deep sleep, how much movement you're getting, things like that. And it seems like your tech ring is doing the same thing, but for men's penis, as well as their cardiovascular health and major other biomarkers that we may not even be aware of. Before we jump into all that, how the hell did you get into this? I know you're a doctor by trade, but I'm sure you didn't, think when you were 20 years old, one day I'm going to disrupt this world with a cock ring that measures HRV and like biomarkers, right? That probably wasn't your goal. So yeah, man, walk to us through just your story and how you got there.
Well, my background, I'm an emergency medicine physician, and short of a heart attack or a stroke, there are a few things that concern men more than a limp dick. So in 2015, I sold an emergency medicine company, and I was really interested in becoming a medical technologist. I'm interested in remote patient management. How can we give people information at home that their doctors should know and the doctors would use if they weren't motivated by secondary gain, by money? So, I've always been particularly interested in sex. Way back the first day of medical school, I looked around and thought, these are not my people. And I went to the medical library. This is before everything was online. And I went to something called the Index Medicus, which is a compendium of all medical research. And I went to the A volume and looked up aphrodisiacs. And there wasn't exactly a line of medical students behind me waiting to get this volume in their hands. So I knew I was an outlier in medicine. And there was a lot of stuff listed among aphrodisiacs that are still being pushed for men as nutraceuticals today. Maca root, horny goatweed,
Oh God, Ali, right?
Yeah, yeah. None of these things work, but what we do with our device, just to jump ahead, is we give men objective, personal, actionable data. We have not found an oral product to work. We are doing research. Well, there's a doctor who's studying 55 men using a combination of 3 nutraceuticals. If that works, I'll come back in your show. I'll talk about it. But for now, we have not found anything to be of benefit. So jumping ahead, I live in Montana. And I own horses, and sometimes I have this illusion that I'm a centaur, that I'm one with my horse. This can be a very dangerous illusion. Imagine being one with your motorcycle. And I smashed this tree. Believe me, I destroyed this tree with my chest. I broke 6 vertebrae and 6 ribs. And as I was lying on the ground, fortunately, I was able to cock up my big toe. For all your men who are listening, or women for that matter, if you think you've had a spinal cord injury and you're worried, if you cock your big toe back, I call it the cock up sign for obvious reasons, you can be able to urinate, defecate, and fornicate, the big 3. So I'm okay. I then kind of became interested in how can we restore sexual function to men who have had a spinal cord injury or multiple sclerosis or some other neurological condition affecting their sexual health.
And Dr. Elliot, just to interrupt, a lot of men, from what I understand, just because I have a background in electric stim therapy and training with some of the guys at NewFit, we see a lot of lower lumbar issues can tie in to the pelvic floor and all of that. So if you have an issue with your lower lumbar spine, typically you will see sexual dysfunction. So what you're speaking about, probably very common, really, guys with lower back pain and impingements and things like that.
It's more common than you and I think. It's not, the doctors don't look for it. Spinal stenosis is an obvious cause, risk factor, for erectile dysfunction. So there were papers in the medical literature, and we all know after COVID, they don't call for literature for no reason, because most of it's fiction. But there were 5 papers, by peer-reviewed papers, by world-renowned neurologists, claiming that by implanting an electrode by the cavernous nerve or the penile or the pudendal nerve, they're able to produce erections in men who had spinal cord injury. At first, I tried this on 2 rams, male sheep, called it ram charging, and we got erection and ejaculation, but we also got defecation and urination. So it wasn't exactly bedroom friendly, unless maybe you were in San Francisco or London. So there was
which I know too well. Exactly. They actually have people that make salaries. They make like $60,000 a year, and they call them like the poop patrol. So it's a very good, if you need to get if you're looking to make money, it's out there, guys. So yeah.
So I actually had, so I had a friend who's a urologist implanted an electrode by my nerves, and nothing happened. So I gave it up. But I called it Project O for obvious reasons. And it was on.
How
I
long
couldn't
ago
get
was
it.
this, by the way?
This was back in 2015, probably 2016.
Wow.
And then I got involved with other medical technology projects. And a urology professor 3 years ago at the University of Utah heard about Project O. He said, "Let me talk to this doctor." And he'd been working for 8 or 9 years trying to count the number of nocturnal erections that men have. And I was ignorant of their significance. I was like, when he told me this, I said, well, why do we care? And he said, well, it goes way beyond morning wood. A healthy man should have 3 to 5 nocturnal erections per night. That's a leading indicator that cardiovascular health or medication side effects. And that, most doctors don't know this, and the vast majority of people in the world don't know this. But it's leading indicator is a really powerful statement in medicine. It's not an association. So we treat high blood pressure because it's associated with heart attack and stroke, kidney failure. It's associated. It doesn't mean if you have high blood pressure, it doesn't mean you get those things. But if you're a man, you have the decreasing number of nocturnal erections, you will have a heart attack or stroke in the next 2 or 3 years. 50% chance, a little bit higher for stroke.
Wow.
And we've had I call them patients, but they're really customers. I've had 2 men tell me that they got cardiac catheterizations because they were using our technology to track their nocturnal erections. One guy went from 5 to 2, and the other guy went from 3 to 0. So I'm not saying that our device is life-saving, although I think it can be, but we look for data because we want to take care of problems before they become clinically apparent. So, and right now there's nothing. So you talked about Oura earlier on. Well, we live in this incredible age, Joel, as you know, of healthcare wearables. And as the biohacking community likes to say, hey, you can track it, you can hack it. Well, when it comes to sex, other than our device, there is nothing. There's no wearable that a man can use that's going to give him the vital signs of his most vital organ. I call it we're doing the 6 vital signs. So when this doctor Hotaling, who's my chief medical officer now, spoke to me about this, he was a cock ring virgin. I'm not a cock ring virgin. I think cock rings suck, but my wife and I play around with them. Give me get 1 or 2 a year, and they're made out of hard silicone. They pinch, are uncomfortable. They're not designed either for data collection or to enhance someone's sexuality. They're just designed to be like a noose on your dick after you get a hard on, and they're uncomfortable. You want them off. You only wear them for 20, 30 minutes. They compromise circulation to the penis. So in order to do what we've accomplished, we had to reinvent the cock ring. But in terms of the data, I'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of the data,
That's a big. This is like launching a nuclear weapon, my friend. Going back, how do we get this on the cock? I mean, this is like a NASA experiment here. This is crazy. Okay,
it was wild because I had to. And here is so I knew we didn't want to make the cock ring out of hard silicone. The silicone pinches. It's uncomfortable. It makes you adapt to it. So I want to make it out of elastomer. So think like a stress ball, but tougher. Something that we on.
Yep, everything's on video. Yep.
So this is the ring. It's accumulated a little bit of dust from my desk, but it's soft, it's spongy. It's not like a conventional cock ring. This is more like a plumbing tool. It's like a gasket, for your penis. So our rings are made of a soft elastomer. They can be worn for hours as a consequence. They don't block the arterial flow in. They only constrain the venous return. So, and this
that reminds me of like the BFR bands. That's kind of similar, right? Is that they only block the certain blood flow, which is it's important because if you're not blocking, you said the arterial, right?
Right.
So if you block the arterial, you're gonna die. You're gonna pass out, right?
Right, and your dick can fall off. No, I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
But if you have compromised circulation, and you're a healthy guy, I'm a healthy person. But half the adult population has diabetes and/or hypertension, or both. Maybe 30% have both, and a majority of adults over the age 50 have atherosclerosis, and 50% over the men age 50 have ED. And lots of men are taking medications, blood pressure medicines, antidepressants that interfere with the circulation of blood in their penis. So we didn't want to block the arterial flow in. So worn overnight, our device counts the number of nocturnal erections that will indicate a man's cardiovascular health, and they measure their duration. Worn during sex, because Dr. Hotaling was just thinking about a medical device. I was thinking, well, what do men really care about? Their erections at night, or what's going on when they're trying to perform and have sex? even themselves, or their partner or their spouses.
Yeah.
So I wanted something that could be dual purpose. So I wanted so one during sex, and the device has been worn, and we have over 40,000 documented erections. We have dick data that no one else in the world has, but 40,000 documented erections. So this is a comfortable device. I mean, there are a few men who you know, we sold about 12,000 devices, and there've been a dozen or so people find to be comfortable for whatever reason. But the vast majority of people find to be comfortable. I'll put it this
Yeah.
way: if you're bigger than this, no one wants to sleep with you. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so one during sex measures duration of firmness erections. So utilizing this data, men and their healthcare providers or their therapists or their exercise coaches or whatever, they can say, well, what's really going on? We can now measure the impact of diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, blood pressure pills, antidepressants, diets, supplements, exercise upon someone's sexual health. There are a lot of, when a guy with ED would crawl on broken glass to get a solution. And because of that, people spend a lot of money on things that might not work. It might not work for them. Because one thing that's interesting, Joel, is we've got men who benefit who in our program. But I don't sell shockwave therapy, but we have men who use our device to monitor their shockwave therapy. And we have men who I know in advance it's not going to work. If your dick is dead, if you have no nocturnal erections, you can go spend $10,000 on shockwave therapy. It ain't happening. On the other hand, if you have nocturnal erection activity of significance, shockwave therapy will probably benefit you. The response to testosterone therapy is variable, and people are using our device to titrate their dose of testosterone. There's no reason getting yourself jacked up to 1,500 if the impact on your penis is the same as 500 versus 1,500 in terms of your value. You can assess the value of PD5 medications like Cialis or Viagra. I know from my own data, taking 10 milligrams of Cialis or 20 milligrams of Cialis is more beneficial to me than 5. So why would I take more? But without data, you can't figure it out.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Really fascinating stuff. And I was thinking of that. Yeah. I was thinking, how difficult is it to get guys, because you want it to be compliant, right? And the Oura ring works so beautifully. I have other wearables, and honestly, from all of them, the Oura is the best because it's just easy. I forget that it's there. Is that the same thing? Is that kind of the feedback it sounds like? Because what I'm gathering is that there's 2 times you're going to wear this. One, you go to bed and you're tracking your nocturnal wood. Awesome. That makes sense to me. But you can also wear it while you're performing. Does that sound right? Yeah.
That's right. It's
And
variable.
so I love that because I'm a guy and I love to just track things and just perform better. If I can get better, I want to get better. I'm an achiever kind of guy. I want to achieve. I want to do better. I want to know what's happening. So if I'm tracking, like how long I'm lasting or the firmness, what kind of data am I getting? Okay, yeah, Joel lasted this long or he's been this firm, but is there any other like endothelial information I'm getting from the device that says this is where you're at right now, man, based on what we think? It's a guess of where we think your vessels are at.
Let me pick that apart a little bit, because towards the end I talked about endothelial, and now everything comes down to endothelial inflammation or narrowing. And if you're in the longevity, the biohacking space, you get your blood tests, and they have all sorts of markers of endothelial function. They think, but what guys really care about is, does my dick work? So
Yep.
and so we've had conversations with 2 companies in the space. I won't mention their names, but they're about, you're getting all these markers. Let's figure out which markers really are indicative of man's sexual health, because they don't know. So I have guys who contact me and say, "Gee, I went to this clinic or that clinic, and they told me that my sedimentation rate or a whole bunch of CRP rate, a whole bunch of things for endocrine markers, they're elevated. What does it mean?" And so we're looking at it from a different approach. How hard do you get on a 1 to 10 score, with 10 being, that pretty much that hard. It's and 1 being like your tongue. So we're measuring on 1 to 10 score. So people actually say soon, I hope, because I was a conversation with a company in Miami about actually researching this, because I want to know for my health, and I want to know for your health and for all men's health, which markers are most significant when it comes to man's sexual function, as opposed to I got to take these 25 supplements now because I have inflammation. I know I have inflammation. I'm 71 years old. The other thing about God, so much to talk about here about blood going into the penis is that there's also blood going out of the penis is probably, for most men, is probably more important than blood going in. So urologists literature, the scientific literature, groups together men who both can attain an erection and men who can't sustain an erection. Well, these are really two totally different groups. A guy who can't attain an erection, he needs a workup. That guy should not be seeing, in my opinion, a naturopath. That guy needs to see a urologist. That man needs to see a cardiologist. The man has a specific cardiovascular problem and a urological problem until proven otherwise. It could be he's over medicated if he has no nocturnals. There are other factors, but that man needs a workup, and I can't stress that enough.
Or it could just be psychological too. That could be like the other one.
No nocturnals.
Oh,
Can
okay,
eliminate
yeah.
nocturnals. Yeah. So that's what's interesting.
I meant the part getting up, but
yeah. So
but
now
if you're talking about the nocturnal, yeah, you can't pick that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then there's guys who can't sustain erection. Excuse me, Daddy. Sorry. There are guys who can't sustain erection.
Don't worry, we're talking about there's a lot we're talking about here. It's a mouthful, literally.
So a man who can't sustain erection, he could lose it for a whole variety of reasons.
Hey, Dr. Elliot, just take your time, man. There's no rush. I'll edit this all out. It'll be very simple. Okay. Don't worry about it. Take your time, relax. This isn't a live podcast, so we're good.
Man who can't sustain erection, it could be psychological, it could be distraction, it could be boredom, it could be disease, it could be medications, alcohol, recreational drugs, etc. But the end result is blood has gotten in, it's leaking on the venous side. And that's where the pills, which men use, PD5 medications, don't work that well. They put blood in, but they're not good at keeping it there. And that's the superiority of a ring. And I was thinking about this. A ring is a mechanical solution to venous leak, where that venous leak is caused by my wife suddenly starts talking about a fight she had with the kids, or the venous leak is caused by the fact that, I've had one too many cocktails, or I started taking a blood pressure medicine, a whole variety of reasons.
Dr. Elliot, before you go on, just really briefly describe, I know you've kind of talked about it, but the venous leak syndrome, when someone says, I have venous leak syndrome, they're talking about just not being able to sustain an erection. Is that correct?
Right. There are two types. One is genetic. There are men who are born with this, and they discover this in late adolescence usually. They're masturbating, they get hard, and they lose their erection. And this treatment for that is surgery. But for the majority of men, this happens with age. And Joel, how old are you?
42. I'm
71. I'm certain. And we were both 14 years old, and we held the girl's hand. We got a hard arm for an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that doesn't happen to me anymore.
No.
I'm leaking blood. I'm leaking on the venous side. I'm with my wife. I might get a little bit turned on. We're out. We kiss a little bit. But when I was 14 years old, I'd be rock hard for the next 90 minutes. And my age, and probably your age too, you get a little roused, and then whatever, you finish your dinner, whatever, you finish a hike, whatever else you're doing. So one of the things we studied, this independent study underway right now. I know it's going to confirm our internal data. We studied 11 men who didn't have ED, age 27 to 70. I was the oldest person in the group. And we wanted to compare tadalafil, 10 milligrams, Cialis, to this ring, which we call our maximum performance ring. This is a ring without technology. And we looked at, and it's hard to believe no one else has really studied this, we looked at detumescence. Detumescence is the time it takes after climax to lose your erection. You can no longer penetrate. So it was, off the top of my head, it was like 30 seconds with nothing. 10 milligrams of tadalafil, it was over 2 minutes on average for this entire group. So we're getting more blood in the penis. We're not men who can't attain erection, but the drug is keeping us dilated on the arterial side. So even after climax, we're still pumping more blood into the penis. With this ring, the maximum performance ring, is a little bit over 4 minutes. And with the two together, tadalafil plus the ring, is a little over 5 minutes. And the takeaway really for all men, and guys need to overcome this inhibition they have about rings, is, hey, Joel, you want to rock harder, last longer? Put a ring on it. Who doesn't? Yeah. And if you really want to make it even better, take a pill, even for a healthy, fit guy like you. And men don't understand cock rings because they suck. They made these hard silicone rings. They pinch uncomfortable. And right now that we have reinvented the ring by making it out of soft elastomer, You and I are fit, so we can actually look down and see our genitals. I'm not going to stand up right now. I'm wearing pants, by the way. But you are probably too. But this ring was also designed easy on, easy off with a hook. It goes on differently. But the hook, by the way, was inspired by the bra. I would say you're a married guy. You probably understand this. I would say probably half the heterosexual sex in the world in a committed relationship or marriage starts when the wife wants her back to be scratched and takes a bra off at night because the silicone is irritating to the skin. It makes the
Mm.
skin adapt to it. Elastomers don't do that. It's the reverse. They adapt to the skin. So I scratched my wife's back and I looked on the ground and I thought, oh, a hook. A bra is a ring that goes on and it opens and closes with a hook. Women don't put on bras over their head. So why we? So this is the first cock ring that they'll open and close with a hook. Now, if you're overweight, like many men are, my age, your age, they look down, they see belly. Putting a ring on can be difficult. So the hook makes it easier. Our rings go on differently too. That you drop your ball. A man, yeah, I'll show you the balls get dropped in like this. It wraps around and closes with a hook and sits like that.
Boom.
With the data version, which is over here, it goes on. It goes on the same way. So we're gathering the data, but the ring is also designed to enhance a man's pleasure. It's putting this ring was this maximum performance ring was designed to put the right amount of pressure over the urethra to prolong the ejaculation by 50%. So my ejaculatory phase goes from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. Well, like most guys, Joe, like you probably too, I imagine I'm a connoisseur on an orgasm. I start masturbating when like 10, 11 years old, and hey, I'm an
Yeah.
expert. And you measure your girlfriend's, your wife's performance by blood you can give yourself. I never use cock rings regularly, and now I don't have sex without a cock ring. I recommend that pretty much for all men. If you want to rock hard, you want to last long, if you want to have more intense orgasm. So, but my ejaculatory fit. So we tested this again on 11 men here. Granted, they're all white men in Bozeman. We tested on 11 men here in Bozeman with a goal of increasing the ejaculatory phase by 50% in all of them. All of these guys, none of these guys are regular cock ring users. They all use it regularly right now, and their wives and girlfriends like it too because one, it's more exciting to the woman if a guy is, I'm noisy now, which I never was before. And it's a confidence builder. Men know they put the ring on, they're going to stay hard. I'll stay hard with a ring for 45, 50 minutes. Well, that's great because I don't want to, who wants to have sex for 5 or 10 minutes? I'm so often when people have sex, there's a sort of rush. Hey, we're both turned on. Let's have an orgasm.
Yeah.
Well, no, if you're going to stay hard, the mindset changes completely. Let's talk about the benefits of sex. Um,
Well, just on that note, I want to say, the whole cock ring thing, it wasn't really even in my paradigm for a while. And then I had the great Susan Bratton, who you know very well, sex educator, sex expert. And she was like, Joel, you gotta have this in your life. And I'm like, tell me more. Like, tell me why. And after talking to her, I go, this is a good idea. So I have one, and I agree. I'm in your camp. I think everybody should have one. If I've been I've been with my wife for 15 years, and I love her, and I'm not going anywhere, and I want to stay that way. But I think it does enhance some things, and you got to evolve. You got to get better. So if anyone's listening, I'm with you. I think you did. And besides that, I mean, just look at the data. You just like doubled your ejaculatory fit. Like, who doesn't want that? Right? Yeah. But talk about the benefits of sex. I know I kind of cut you off.
But yeah, it's okay. I mean, men who have sex every day have the cortisol levels that are half of men who have sex once every 2 weeks. That's
Mm.
that's the stress hormone. So the longevity community appropriately is interested in these endothelium markers of endothelial inflammation. But I'm in the cortisol. That's more powerful than I'm more interested, frankly, in my cortisol than I am in my endothelium.
I agree. We're the
Because
most stressed out ever than we've ever been, going back probably hundreds of years. This is like one of the most stressful periods. We're disconnected, we're isolated, and we're just facing all-time stress rates. How do you drop cortisol? Have more sex.
have one sex. We doctors
And
make
by the way, you're
recommendations.
not going to get the same effects from masturbation because, well, then why don't you just go masturbate, get a nice little release? It's not the same, right? I know there's data to back that up. There's no oxytocin's released. There's nothing happening, right?
Well, masturbating is better than not masturbating. But we also know that the people who have sex frequently are less likely to get divorced. They have better relationships. People need and when people, I'm shocked when I speak to people in their late 20s and 30s, where my kids' age, my peers of my kids. at how infrequently they have sex because they're not bonding their relationship together. And I think people need to plan for pleasure. I'm not as fit as you. I probably do go to the gym 3 times a week, and
But you're in your 70s.
I
You look amazing. You look
thank you.
youthful, man. So yeah.
But people don't. When you and I go to the gym, I don't like think, what am I going to do today? No, I have a plan. And if we work out with the trainer has a plan. And ideally, the plan is, if I work out with a trainer, it's not the same 8 exercises over an hour, day after day after day. You mix it up, partially because of boredom, but also because it's more beneficial that way. People need to approach sex that way as well too. They need to, I think, they need to plan for pleasure. And I'm not saying you got to have a whiteboard in your bedroom. Well, that might be an interesting idea, Joe. Uh, Let me know how it goes with your wife, okay? Because I've tried pitching that to my wife, and she just won't go for the whiteboard in the bed.
Susan Bratton has a whole month scheduled out, from what I understand.
She does.
But Dr. Elliot, to your point, I agree. There were many times throughout my marriage where nothing was planned, and we're busy people. And then what happens is you start making stories up in your head, like, she doesn't love me. This is bullshit. I tried to initiate. She did nothing. And what I've realized now is that's all noise. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm going to take ownership for my relationship. And now I just have the conversation like, hey, this needs to happen. We need to connect. Like, when's this going to happen? And I always joke with people, if it's not in my schedule, it ain't happening. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to intimacy. And some people would say, oh, that's just too ridiculous. It needs to be organic. Well, if it's not planned, it doesn't happen. And so I'm with you. I'm in that camp. It's not whiteboarded out, but our schedules are pretty much the same every week. And we know like these are going to be the most opportune times. And I love it because now we're more active than ever, because in the past it was just, feelings of like, I don't think she loves me. And it was just, no, we need to have a conversation about it.
Or as you get older and you're a young man, it's like there's a certain tension. Like, I might not be able to get it up, so I'm not going to bother having sex.
Right.
Whereas if you make it, I recently was with the Medical Health Institute in Miami. And they're a longevity clinic, and I was on a webinar with them. And they wanted me to do their blood panels. Like, well, we want you to refrain from ejaculation for 72 hours beforehand. Like, what? I'm not going to do that. That's not how I live. You're not going to get a reflection of how I actually live. We doctors make recommendations about diet, sleep, exercise. We don't make recommendations about sex. We suck at sex, and we should. I think people should be having sex at least 2 or 3 times a week. And if you're not, then you need to start for your health, mental health, and your overall health.
Yeah. Talk about you talked about briefly here. I know you have like 3 different models. And it's just hilarious. I was reading your page and it was like the max PR. This is like if you want to really get rocking, and this one, it's just funny. But talk to us about like what are the models and what's different about all of them.
Well, I really got into this for the technology. Our goal at FirmTech is better sex for everyone, and we have developed a device for women as well too that we're going to come out with next year. Better sex for everyone, and achieving that through 2 ways. One, we need to provide people with objective, actionable personal data about their sexual health they don't currently have, and that's the tech. So this device is Bluetooth enabled. I'll share with you my data so you can see what it looks like.
And that is that tech ring. It goes like it's about $200 or something, right? If somebody
$275.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll show you what it looks like. I mean, it's less expensive than your Oura. It's less expensive than a Whoop. It's less expensive than an Amazon. So we give people an overall score. I think about 6 is good. So
Dr. Elliot, I can see your screen, but your voice is muffled from wherever
yeah,
your
I'm
mic is.
in front of the camera. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Yeah. So we give you an overall score. It's based upon your number of nocturnals, how hard they are, how long they last, how hard you get during sex, and how long you last, during sex.
And by the way, I can have you share your screen if you on the desktop. It's up to you. You can share your screen. Okay.
I'll just show you. I'll show what data looks like.
So you get your overall wellness score, similar to like an Oura Ring or a Whoop. They'll say like, hey, you're an 85 today.
That's an overnight recording. Over there, my wife and I are having sex, and I'm having 3 nocturnals. So for a man my age, this is good sexual health, but it's also good cardiovascular health. I'm more interested in this than my electrocardiogram because the urologists and cardiologists say the penis is the canary in the coal mine of cardiovascular disease. I'm confident that in the future, every man will want to know we call it the erectile fitness score. Because before this dysfunction, this fitness, we're all on this journey. I don't like that word. We're all on this path as we age from fitness to dysfunction. We need to know where we stand, just the way we know our blood pressure, the way we know our cardiac rhythm or electrocardiogram, the way we know our liver proteins, the way we might know some of our individual risk factors. Um, we want we need data. If you have data, you can then hopefully, if you have a problem, you can reverse it or at least stop it from getting worse. So right now, Joel, a man your age or a man my age, if we went to a cardiologist and said, I have chest pain or my pulse is irregular, and the cardiologist put his fingers on our pulse and said, yeah, Joel, your pulse is irregular. Take this digoxin pill and come back in 3 months. You would think, what the fuck is this? 1900? I want a CT angiogram. I want a stress test. I want an electrocardiogram. I want blood tests. I want blood pressure. But that's where we are with erectile dysfunction. If you go to a sexologist, and I really like Sue Bratton a lot, but if you go to her, or you go to more to the point, you go to a psychotherapist specialized in sexology, or you go to your family doctor or your internist, and you tell them you have ED, because they're not going to ask. By the way, they don't ask about sex ever. You tell them that, they're just going to give you a pill. Well, that's stupid. If you have a problem, you want to know that. Well, is this problem in my head? Is it a problem due to the medication I'm already taking? Is the problem all the time, or is it just when I'm having at night, just when I'm having sex? Is it when I'm having sex with that person and not that person? The doctors don't ask about sex because, in my opinion, money. There's no box on an electronic health record for sex, so they don't ask. If there was a box there, hey doctor, you want to make an extra $35? You got to take a sexual history. They would take it, but they don't do
Oh,
it.
you bet they would. They figure out the cure and the disease all at once. So okay, because I want to actually talk about
Oh, so the other
what
products.
happens.
So that
I want to talk about the products, and then on that note, what you just mentioned. So what? I get the biometrics. I had three erections throughout the night. Great. What does that mean? What do I do with that data? That's my next question. Like, do I get push notifications? Like,
yeah.
hey, like, you could be doing this. Anyways, but tell us about the three models. So you have the original model that just tracks the data. Cool.
Then we have the performance ring, which is really for men who are larger. A lot of guys think they're larger. We actually provide on our website. We provide guys with a calculated charts. They can really see where they stand. But for guys genuinely in the 95th percentile larger, the performance ring has more elasticity than the max performance ring. But the max performance ring is our biggest seller. It retails for $60 online, and that's the ring that was designed to produce a more intense orgasm. It's the only doctor designed.
That's basically the new cock ring.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when I'm doing the firm, can I wear both? Can I wear both the firm or the actual tech ring with?
You can achieve the same effect with the tech ring because we have this, patented hook and loop closure.
So if I buy the tech ring, I don't have to buy the Max PR.
You don't, but we sell them as a bundle. So one is $275, the other one is $60, but we sell them as a bundle for $295. Because here's the reason. When this goes through the loop here, you can pull through the loop to tighten it up around your shaft, and then you can loosen it overnight so it's more comfortable. But if you just want to put on a ring for sex, you don't want to hassle with anything while you're having sex, get the maximum performance ring. So
Gotcha.
I'm 71 years old. I check my data 4 times a month, just the way I would check my blood pressure when I go to the gym. The machine is there. It makes sense for a man my age. You're a bit younger. For a guy your age, you don't need the data is probably not valuable. You're in good health. You don't diabetes. You don't have hypertension. I'm assuming you're not taking.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I think everyone is more stressed than we think. So hypertension. I mean, if we're talking about the disease state, no. But I mean, I'm a busy entrepreneur, father. I guarantee I've got some good cortisol going on.
They probably should know your data.
Yeah, I think it's valuable. And to your point, I mean, other than metabolic disease, cardiovascular is like number 2 up there. You got stress, metabolic, and cardiovascular, heart disease. Those are the top killers right now that we're seeing.
We had a young guy. I mean, the youngest person who's contacted us was in his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife were trying to have a baby, and he was having difficulty in bed. And this guy he's ripped. He's an exercise zealot. And they were attributing their problem to, we're both stressed, we changed jobs, mood states, we're trying to have a baby. And he had an adrenal problem. The guy only had one nocturnal erection per night. And he wouldn't have known it. So he was able to pick up a problem. So I think for someone your age, if you have a problem, then you want to know your data. I think everyone should, to your point though, should want to know their baseline data.
Yeah.
The way you know your blood pressure or your liver protein.
So for you, you put it on every night and then you just look at your scores 4 times a month, or you do it for.
No, I don't. I use the maximum performance ring pretty much every night for sex. I
Yeah.
try to make a point to have sex 5 6 times a week. The tech ring, I only check my data once a week.
Okay.
Because my data is good. I don't.
Well, you've been doing it for a while now, it sounds like.
Exactly
So.
right. So
Yeah.
we have about 25% of our users, tech ring users, use the device more than once a week. 70% use at least once a month. We've had guys get a tech ring. You have no nocturnals. You don't need to follow your data. You need to see a doctor. You have a significant problem. We have guys who are recovering from prostate surgery though, who use it every night because they can monitor their recovery. Because before they recover sexual function, they recover the nocturnals, and they want to monitor their therapy. You can monitor the impact of your therapy, whatever it is, shockwave, pumping, PD5 medications. You can monitor that with the technology. But the maximum performance ring is the one that was really designed to address the venous leak, to keep men harder, longer, comfortably. So I'm guessing that. Did Subratin recommend to you the Lasso? Which ring did she recommend to you?
Man, I can't remember the name off the top. If you say the name, I'd probably know it.
Well, basically there are the O rings or the Lassos. The advantage of our ring is that it can be worn for long sex sessions, whereas conventional cock rings made of silicone can only be worn for 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 20 minutes is a good
And then
amount
you
of
want
time.
it off because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Okay, so I get this data, right? And it says, Joel, you're only having 2 nocturnal erections a night. It's like, well, that's not good. So what though? What do I
You send
do
you a
with it?
notification.
Is it
So right now,
besides the notifications though? Is it gonna, like the guy who figured out he had adrenal fatigue? What do you tell the users? Like, hey, here's probably the top 10 things that we see that are probably happening. You've consistently drummed. It's not just once. Maybe I had a stressful night. I had alcohol, but no. You consistently your score is low.
yeah.
Can we say, here, Joel, here's the top 10 things, and then I can kind of check these off and go, all right, I did this, I did this.
We have medical legal issues. So if we need to, we medical legally, we are required to push people back to the healthcare providers if they have a problem.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
No, I know, we're a diagnostic aid, but we tell that every man, if you're going to change your medications, consult your doctor. But I know that people aren't doing that. Just the way people who use other wearables make changes in Oura, Whoop, or MyZone. They make changes on the basis of the data that they see. So what we do right now is fairly simple. It could be, hey Joel, you went from 5 nocturnal erections to 2 over the last month. Give us 4 more readings. If this problem persists, see your healthcare provider. Or it could be, Joel or Elliot, your hardness has shown a 25% improvement. You've gone from I'll make it up. You went from a 6 to a 9, and way to go. Has there been any change in your lifestyle, your medications that account for this?
Yeah.
Notifications.
Yeah. So talk to me. Yeah, because I'm really curious. I know what you're saying. You have to have it. A doctor. That's just how it is in our world. But you and I were talking offline about the pandemic and like how certain doctors like yourself could not treat people appropriately based on that same model, which I have a problem with. So for me, I know it's difficult. Doctors, like as a health coach, I'm really lucky because I can make a lot of recommendations, but I'm not diagnosing, I'm not curing. And I'm wondering if there's a way for you to get around that as well. Hey, I'm not doing any of these things. I'm just saying based on these things, maybe someone like you should eat more salad or switch diets or have some Tongat Ali. I have no idea, right? It's just recommendations. I'm not saying anything about your health.
Well, by the way, I don't think Tongat Ali is going to do any good for your dick. We play with that internally here. I think it affects a mild kind of like caffeine in a way. I mean, it was interesting because we had a group of 6 guys who tried out here in Montana, and we all thought for a day or two, gee, I feel a little bit like I've had like a glass of wine with caffeine, and then the effects wore off. After that, no one felt anything. But we do provide information on the website about the causes of erectile dysfunction. We are and we want people who should go back to their doctor. I don't want people who have cardiovascular disease think that to your point, hey, I'm just going to eat salad and I'm going to lose a couple pounds and not worry about my heart anymore. No, if your erections are 6 and you're your age, you got a problem. You need to think, and you probably, look, Joel. I know people are going to go to you with these problems as well too. But we always have to have the back of our mind what's in this person's best interest. And if a person has weak nocturnals, weak erections while trying to have sex, and they don't respond to, because these guys all go online, they get pills, they're taking Cialis, Viagra, and they don't respond to a ring. They need to work up.
Gotcha. No, and that's helpful. And I agree with you. When there's time and place for the Western model, there's times that you need to go. Like if I break my arm, I'm going to the emergency room. My son got a concussion about 3 years ago. I wasn't going to my naturopath asking him to put
Right.
colloidal silver on my son's head, right? Like, I went to the emergency room. Like we got to get him checked out, make sure his brain's not bleeding. So I agree with you. Time and place.
I'm skeptical about all doctors. So, and I'm a doctor, but I don't, in Western medicine, we treat everyone as if they're the same. One size fits all healthcare. I'll just pick on SSRI and suppressants. A whole class of medication, I think, is worthless and dangerous, largely. Certainly long term. There might be short term benefits. People are simply depressed, but they should probably take people off of the medication. So if you or I, or my wife, or my daughter, or people of varying ages, varying weights, go to see a psychiatrist or a family doctor, and we say we're depressed, they're going to put us on whatever, Wellbutrin, Prozac, Prozac type medicine, same dose. Well, that's stupid, and it's wrong. I used to have high blood pressure on the basis of seeing a doctor 4 times a year. So I put me on a medication. I then got a blood pressure cuff and thought, let me look at blood pressure the way we look at glucose. We don't just treat people on the basis of one hemoglobin A1C. And I realized that my blood pressure was intermittent. Usually in the morning. It was sleep related. And I don't take blood pressure medicine anymore. What I've noticed though is that, and I'm a doctor. I'm treating myself. But I know my doctor, would if I show up at the doctor's office, my blood pressure is going to be a little bit high just because I'm in the doctor's office. But instead I take 2 readings a day. And we need to, I think, approach sex with data as well too, and recognize that we don't want to. Hey, you have one episode of ED, guys. The answer is not to go to Get Row or Hims and get pills. The answer is to, hey, you have ED. Is it a problem that you have 2, 3, 4 times? Get data first and figure out what's causing it, as opposed to potentially masking a problem with a medication, or taking medication that's not really effective for a period of time. And meanwhile, having all the psychosocial problems that you alluded to before with your sexual partners or your spouses about this issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. I mean, it goes back to the beginning too. And I like too that you get to, I'm a big fan of being able to track things in my own home and stuff, not have to go to a doctor's office. Like some of those conversations can be really scary and intimidating, but if you can, for $275, it's not too much to kind of really get some data and then go from there and use that data appropriately and then find the resources. So I think that's a cheap way to really uncover and unmask a lot of guessing that you might be doing. Is it this? Is it that? Like, well, let's just start with this, because if we know we're having 3 to 5 nocturnals, we're good. And if we're not, then we have a problem, but now we know where to start. So I think that's really helpful. And the other thing is you get to use it as a cock ring, which is fantastic. So it's a plus no matter what. I want to ask you a couple of questions,
Sure.
but one is, you mentioned earlier about Viagra being a good thing, and I haven't read all the studies, but you said it's not a good thing.
I don't think it's a good thing. I think that if you look at the original Viagra studies, it's only.
Sorry, you're coming in a little low.
I'll come in closer. Hear me now?
Yeah.
Right. If you look at the original Viagra studies, it's only 20%.
I thought you said something about even healthy guys should be taking.
Oh, if you want to rock with the hardest, if you want to put a ring on it and then take a pill as well, you'll last a little bit longer.
Okay. Yeah,
So
no doubt you will. I just thought that you had said something like, even for healthy men, it's not a big. I thought there were studies where athletes were taking Viagra as a supplement in a sense, not every day, but just as a performance enhancer for their athletic performance, not just like sexual.
Well, it does lower the blood pressure. I don't know. It increases blood flow. That's the thought. Okay, if you're trying to perform as an athlete, blood flow. I but I don't think these are great medications. I want to be clear about that because
Yeah.
Viagra is only 20% more effective than placebo. That ain't that all that effective. And a good deal of the benefit of Viagra and tadalafil is here. I mean, I've got guys I prescribe tadalafil to, and they say it works if it's in their wallet. It works if it's on their night table. And I recognize the placebo effect is really powerful. And I think that a lot of the benefit, the naturopaths don't like hearing this from me, but a lot of the benefit, a lot of naturopathic stuff is actually is a placebo effect. Uh,
Totally
and
agree, and I love
and
naturopathy. That's my whole
and,
shebang. It's
and
holistic
it,
health and
yeah.
naturopathy.
And although I do think that if you want to examine I want to get back to the elephant in a second. Well, let me clarify the point right now. My point was that if a man wants to last a little bit longer after they have climax, tadalafil will be helpful. Now that could be helpful for a guy who has premature ejaculation, or it could be helpful for an older man like me or you, because because it's more intimate. I don't need to keep on thrusting to make my wife happy. The women always come first in a marriage. That's just the way it is. They come first and third usually in a
Yeah.
good marriage. If I'm if I'm still hard after I have a climax, it changes my mindset. The guy with a hard on thinks differently than the guy who's lost his hard on. The guy who's lost his hard on is like, well, who texted me while we're fucking, or what? Let's have a drink, or let's what do we do next? Or
Or
let's go to
he's
bed.
spiraling and thinking, I'm a piece of shit. I'm unworthy. I'm no good. And
Yeah,
that's even worse. That's a
that's
worse
even
place
worse.
to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if a guy is for me, I'll just speak for myself and my wife. If I'm still hard for 4 or 5 minutes after I come, the romance, the intimacy, the bonding, is prolonged. But the medications are not particularly effective. But farm advertising is so powerful. People become psychologically dependent upon. Oh, they think they need it, even though you can with data you can actually measure the impact. I don't. I think as I told you before the show. For me, I take 5 milligrams of tadalafil every day. Really, because there's studies in the longevity literature showing that there might be some benefit to overall cardiovascular health to taking tadalafil low dose, regularly. And that's why I take it. But if I add 10 milligrams or 20 milligrams of tadalafil, it doesn't improve my sexual performance at all, which is interesting. I wouldn't know that.
But
You know,
that was
it,
that was my point. I mean, you're doing it as a maintenance thing because of the
right.
cardiovascular benefits. So I think that's great. I mean, it's great to hear that. There's research out there to kind of support that. That's kind of what I was, yeah, for the athletes and for us guys in general. So that's great. I wanted to add, go ahead. You want to
I
finish
same
anything?
with testosterone. I take testosterone because it's objectively better for my health. I'll explain why. So I was never really, before I got involved in this, I was never thinking I didn't think I needed testosterone.
But
Oh,
then you
my
talked to Susan Bratton. She told you needed it. Just kidding.
well, she thinks we all need it. Uh,
Yeah.
so why do I take it? So I asked my scientific advisory board. I said, look, I just realized, hey, every guy I know seems to be taking testosterone at over age 50 or 60. Whether their testosterone level is low or whether it's low normal, or normal, um, what do you think is going to be the impact upon my nocturnal erections? Because that's objective. Nocturnal erections are not being influenced by who you're with, porn, no porn, drugs, no drugs, alcohol, etc. It's just at night. And they predicted that I would have more nocturnals and that nocturnal erections would last longer. And that didn't happen. But what did happen with testosterone is that my upper body strength increased by 5 to 7% without trying. It just happened almost like effort. I mean, without pushing at the gym. My routine is largely a CrossFit routine, but I do some curls and I do some bench press. Within 6 to 8 weeks, suddenly went from curling 50s to curling 55s. In a full set of 3 sets, and I went from bench pressing 175 to bench pressing 190 to 200 again without pushing it, without setting a goal. And so I keep taking it.
Yeah. And testosterone is the majority of testosterone is found in the heart, right? So very good for the cardiovascular
It's good,
health as well.
but we have men who are using our device to monitor what's the right dose of them, because we don't, here's something that's really interesting because uh, you people will go to the naturopaths to try to increase their free testosterone, the amount of testosterone that's not attached to a globin in the blood that's available for the body. But what we're seeing, and other doctors report this, is that the response is really variable. There are people who increase their free testosterone, their nocturnals improve, and there are people who you put them at the same level. He's like that one size treats all. Okay, we're going to jack everyone up to 800 or 1,000. We got their free testosterone up now as well too, and they don't respond because there's probably a genetic difference in the receptors. And we don't have any way yet of evaluating the receptors for testosterone and how they age and how they age differently in different people. There's so much we have to learn about in the longevity space, in the biohacking space.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because you have so much data, obviously 12,000, no, 40,000 pieces of
44,000 erections.
40,000 erections,
And they're not
12,000.
all mine.
Okay, good. 12,000, that's helpful. 12,000 men, I think you had mentioned. So you've got a lot of dick data. So I wanted to ask you, just in your experience, I know you're a doctor. You can't you're not allowed to diagnose, cure, anything like that. We're not saying that. But just from what you've seen, either from the literature and anecdotally, what would you say the average guy, and I know, again, this is very broad. Everyone has their bioindividuality. But if a guy's listening, what would you say, and they're having issues with erections and they're seeing their nocturnal, they're having some nocturnal, but it's not optimal. They want to be better. What would be like, is there like a top 3 to 5 things that you've seen a lot of guys add to their lifestyle that has helped increase erections?
Because most of our data is anonymous, so I only know people's data to give us permission to look at it. So we have a group of about 250 men who have 240 men who've done that. So I know that data set. Probably people need to look at their relationship issues first, and then there's alcohol and substance abuse are big problems. People are obese. They need to lose weight. They need to move. It's not, this isn't complicated stuff. It's like, hey, don't have 6 cocktails, only have 2. You need to know eating 3,500 calories a day is not, good for you. So overall fitness, I would say, is probably, and avoiding significant substance abuse, are significant. After that, I would say, try putting a ring on it. And because if your difficulty is sustaining an erection, the ring is going to help regardless of what the problem is. Whether your problem is due to diabetes or hypertension, or your problem is due to relationship issues or alcohol or other factors, put a ring on it, because the ring will address this sort of common endpoint. Blood goes in the penis, doesn't stay there. Let's try to keep the blood in the penis.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said those things. I didn't expect that, but it makes so much sense. It's like, listen, fix your relationship, number one. That's the hard thing we don't want to do. It's funny though. My wife was going through issues and her menstrual cycle was thrown off in the last couple of years. And I said, well, why don't we just do a Dutch test and just see what's going on for you? And so we did. We spent $500 to do a freaking Dutch test to measure her hormones see where her cortisol levels are, see where the hormones are. Why are you missing cycles? This started becoming irregular. And guess what the Dutch test revealed? It said, guess what? You're stressed way more than you think. And my wife's like, I'm not that stressed. No, cortisol is raging throughout the day. And I laugh, and I always tell this to people because my wife thinks like, oh no, I got it all together. Like she needed to, now looking back, she needed to spend $500 to have a coach audit her life and say, you need to meditate more. You need more breaks. And then she came to me with that data and I said, well, how can I help? How can I support? Before that, we're just running this unconscious life or a paradigm that we think is normal, and it's not. And so having the data like you, it's just so obvious. Sometimes you need to spend $275 and go, and then, well, I'm apparently having it. So what else is the issue? My relationship. I haven't fixed that. I am obese. I haven't fixed that. Like that's obviously, it's pretty clear. And then, just some of the other things that you mentioned, I think it's just so key and again, obvious, but sometimes we need to do that to like shake us up and go, you're looking at all the wrong things. What's the most obvious? Like that's Occam's razor. I think that whole.
I want to go back to the relationship again. Because I go to a gym here in Bozeman. People are really fit, and because people know what I'm doing, people will tell me about. They'll seek advice about their sex life and how it relates to their health. And
how do they know what you're doing? Do you walk around with a ring? I'm just kidding. You must have, I know you have some swag, by the way, too. So maybe that's what it is. I'm just kidding.
I do sometimes wear. I have, our motto is erectus ergo sum. So the French philosopher Descartes said, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am. Erectus ergo sum, I'm erect, therefore I am. And that is the male mindset. And so,
Love that.
and also I just, I'm a social person, and it's Montana. This is not a gym in L.A., New York, San Francisco, where no one speaks to each other.
You guys actually
And
talk. Yeah, amazing. I know
people,
what that's like.
and the trainers know what I'm doing, and words kind of work, where it gets around.
No, I get it. I'm just playing.
So, and a lot of these, and quite often my suggestion, and people don't want to hear it, is, hey, when I get to the gym, you're here. When I leave, you're here. I'm here for an hour. How many hours a week are you spending in the gym? Oh, you're in the gym 10 hours a week. How many hours do you make love? It's not like, well, we just can't, life is stressful. We got kids, we got work. It's like, oh, maybe you should carve out 3 hours out of your gym time and spend that time with your partner, planning for pleasure and enjoying pleasure.
Yeah, I love that, man. So good. I want to wrap things up. I know we're kind of run up on that hour. Just kind of talk us any other exciting projects that you're working on right now that we can expect in the future.
Yeah, we work with a device called the Platique. It's the world's first monitor of clitoral health. And there's nothing for women as well, too. If a woman goes to a gynecologist or a family doctor and says, gee, I like my sexual health where it is right now, or I got a problem, because if 50% of men have ED over age 50, it's 55% of women have arousal issues over age 50. And younger women have more arousal issues. And I'll give you, at age 30, for men, it's like 28%. For women, it's 34%. So premenopausal women are protected against heart disease by their hormones. Postmenopausal women have all the same problems with hypertension, atherosclerosis, diabetes, obesity, that men do. But premenopausal women take hormones, birth control, and they take antidepressants 5 times as much as guys do. Both those things interfere with their sexual health. And we need to detoxify people. We need to get people, with data, I want people to get off of unnecessary medications that are deleterious to their health. So that device, when we've tested prototype on 38 women, we're raising money right now for that device. My goal is to raise $1.5 million, but it's ready to go. I mean, it's ready to go in the sense that if I have the money, I can have it on the market in 9 months. I will bring it out with my own money if I have to in 2025.
Wow,
and that's revolutionary technology.
Well, let's stay in touch. Maybe there's some people I might know, or somebody we can see if we can help that happen faster.
That'd be great.
That's awesome, man. Last but not least, I think we covered a lot, and we might have to have you come back on. I still felt like I had more questions to ask you, but I wanted to keep it tight. Last but not least, where can people just learn about your work, Dr. Elliot, and just everything that you're doing and at FirmTech? Are you guys on social media, the website? Where can people learn more about all the good things you're up to?
Sure. You can find us online at myfirmtech.com. People can contact me directly. I might not get back to you. I get back to everyone usually within 2 or 3 days. At Elliot, ELLIOT, at myfirmtech.com. You can find us on Instagram at myfirmtech. We're on LinkedIn as well. So my wife is saying on Facebook too.
On Facebook as well. Yes. Awesome stuff. Dr. Elliot Justin, from FirmTech. Appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks so much. It was great.